Dear Mr. President, first of all, we would like to congratulate you on your recent re-election. You've been doing a great job as a leader of our country, but we've written today because we have a few things to say regarding your next term.
As two members of the female population, we want to know that in our futures, no matter where we are in our lives, we have affordable and accessible healthcare and services whenever we need them, and that every other member of our gender will be able to say the same.
Women's health is fundamental to their well-being and their ability to participate in economic life. If women aren't able to decide freely and voluntarily when to have children and have the means to do so, it makes it very difficult for them to control other aspects of their life.
You've taken steps to solve this problem by passing the Affordable Care Act.
The Affordable Care Act is an absolute victory for, I think, Americans in general. I think for us as a country to seriously tackle inequality in healthcare and access to healthcare is a triumph.
But we are far from the end of this issue.
The Affordable Care Act has already helped millions of women gain access to services such as screening for gestational diabetes, testing for HPV, counseling for sexually transmitted infections, counseling and screening for HIV, contraceptive methods and counseling, breastfeeding support and supplies, screening and counseling for domestic and interpersonal violence, and more for low costs. Millions more will benefit once the law becomes fully operational in August of 2014.
Pero en Planned Parenthood of New York City tenemos un dicho, un mensaje y muchas voces.
But some women still feel that their reproductive rights and general welfare are under attack.
And I so want to help other women who are in that situation, thinking these are less than ideal circumstances. What am I going to do about this? Maybe I can change those circumstances. Maybe this can all just go away and we'll pretend it never happened. I want to encourage these women, oh my goodness, give this life a chance.
The mega trend is to protect the child in the womb from the insidious violence of abortion and to protect women from the trauma, often lifelong emotional harm from procuring an abortion.
Well, I'm a believer that life begins at conception, that life is given to us by our Creator. It is sacred. It is not the responsibility of government to decide who lives and who doesn't live. I believe the unborn need protection and the elderly need protection from decisions that take lives.
To defund Planned Parenthood and put all of the money into adoption services to give young women the choice of life rather than the choice of death.
But pro-choice activists have recently been speaking out against these types of attacks.
But a woman should never be forced to adhere to the extreme restrictions placed upon her by members of Congress.
So I would boil this down to say that what we need to focus on is who, in essence, controls that decision. And so, from my point of view, that should be a woman deciding when or if to terminate her pregnancy. That politicians should not interfere with what is a private and personal medical decision.
But all over the country, conservative politicians try to outdo each other in calling for the destruction of Planned Parenthood. Do they really have no concern for the millions of women who rely on Planned Parenthood for basic health care? And yes, contraception is a basic health care.
Don't let any conservative stand up and call themselves a conservative if their idea of small government is having Congressman Pitts standing in the operating room or standing in the examination room. These congressmen standing between doctors and women. That's not conservative by any definition.
What I object to is those who would seek to take that right away from others. Because there is then a presumption that one knows what is right for another. And we can't know because we don't walk in their shoes. We cannot know what's right for another person.
On July 11, 2012, 244 representatives in Congress voted to repeal the Affordable Care Act and take away birth control and other women's health services. 48 senators voted for the Blunt Amendment Act on March 1, 2012, which let bosses deny their employees of birth control coverage. Arizona, Colorado, Georgia, Idaho, Michigan, Missouri, New Hampshire, North Dakota, and Oklahoma are still trying to undermine contraceptive coverage through legislative or ballot measures. Are you aware that 52% of women report delaying needed medical care because of costs, and 32% of women report giving up basic necessities in order to pay healthcare expenses?
Did you know that women are more likely to need medical services, but are also more likely to have trouble getting health care?
A woman, on average, spends 1/3 of her life fulfilling the role of caregiver, which has been shown to negatively affect a person's health.
On top of that stress, women nationally earn less than men, therefore are more likely to live in poverty.
No matter your stance on this issue, it is undeniable that this is a problem that desperately needs to be fixed.
In short, we fear that the healthcare and reproductive rights for women will fall to the wayside this term, and we urge you not to let that happen. Over half the population is made up of women. You yourself have a mother, wife, half-sister, and 2 daughters. Would you really want to subject them to unaffordable healthcare and limited reproductive options?
There are people that strongly believe that your re-election was a victory for women and their health. They believe that your re-election sends a message to Congress that we don't want them dealing with our personal choices.
We have a president who really understands that women should decide.
And then he also has a huge ability with what he can do through executive order or through providing regulations. You know, that's something the president has the power to do, so who's ever in office can have a big impact.
It has been said that past politicians dismissed and degraded women. By focusing on this issue, you could change that forever.